Good evening. It's non-stop humiliation under Sir Keir Starmer. Starmer is currently relying on France to defend our military bases in Cyprus. A British RAF base in Cyprus was attacked by Iran's proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. Starmer did nothing. He just called for de-escalation. Can you fathom being led by someone that weak? Imagine being on a night out with him and someone walks up and pours a glass of wine over his wife's head and he just says, oh, we need to de-escalate this situation, don't we? It's pathetic. I mean, after the British base in Cyprus was attacked, Emmanuel Macron said that he's sending his flagship aircraft carrier. France is also expected to send Horizon-class and Frem-class frigates, a nuclear-powered attack submarine, 2 fuel supply ships, and up to 40 aircraft. And it's not just Macron. Yes, the mighty Greek armed forces are also going to send 4 fighter jets and 2 frigates to Cyprus. Starmer is so weak that he's relying on the old cheese-eating surrender monkeys to protect us from the terrorists. I mean, the rumour this morning was that he might send one of our own ships, HMS Duncan, but it would take a whole week to get to Cyprus. Pathetic. We have 6 Type 45 destroyers, apparently. There are 3 of them that are currently in for maintenance, so can't be used. 1 will take several days to get ready. Apparently, only HMS Duncan and another one called HMS Dragon are ready to go. At the moment, the UK has no ability to defend Cyprus against ballistic missile attacks. And it was only at 4:10 this afternoon that Starmer finally said this. I've just spoken to the president of Cyprus to let him know that we are sending helicopters with counter-drone capabilities and HMS Dragon is being deployed. We will always act in the interest of the UK and our allies. Well, better late than never. I mean, the whole thing could have been over by now. All Starmer seems to care about at the moment is Britain's Muslim community, the Iranian regime and international human rights lawyers knowing that he's done absolutely nothing to the Ayatollah. Allahu Akbar man la manzar, Allahu Akbar, inshallah yamal shak. All he says now, and we're going to play you this clip in the next hour, it's hilarious, some of this stuff, all he keeps saying is Britain played no role in these attacks. Britain played no role in these. Like he's proud of it. Most people would be queuing up to take credit for slotting the Ayatollah. Not our Prime Minister. He wants everyone to know he had nothing to do with it. Starmer is desperate to give the Chagos Islands away and make us pay for the privilege. He's basically handed control of Gibraltar to the Spanish without a shot being fired. He seems much more keen on prosecuting our own military than deploying them. And it doesn't seem to be his natural instinct to do anything to retaliate when a jihadi regime attacks our sovereign territory. The eyes of the world are looking at how each country is responding to the biggest global crisis of modern times. And until this afternoon, our leader was relying solely on the French for our national security. Remarkable. Oh, now this has happened. Iran's Revolutionary Guard are apparently plotting to rise up and do domestic jihad right here in Britain. And Starmer still won't prescribe them as a terrorist group. Honestly, whose side is this bloke on? Right, OK, so lots to unpack there. I mean, first things first, I just think, Will, the idea that British sovereign territory can be attacked by a jihadi regime and it's not in our Prime Minister's instinct to want to clap back on that.
Patrick, the man doesn't have any natural instincts. If you lobbed a tennis ball at him, I don't think he would move. This is a man thoroughly without conviction. He's no Trump. He's no Churchill. I would take a Chamberlain at the moment. At least Chamberlain had conviction. It was just the wrong conviction. Now, we've known this throughout his premiership, but there's one thing not to have any conviction on economic policy, but it is laid bare in times of crisis. But he will always be torn, looking to the left of his party, looking to, other stakeholders. by the tension between the interests of the Islamic vote and the interests of citizens of the United Kingdom and the interests of this nebulous international human rights law and the interests of the country. And because he doesn't have that foundation of conviction that Churchill had, that Thatcher had, that Chamberlain even had, he will never, ever be able to put the country in a safe, defendable position in times of crisis.
But by the way, we're going to talk about this a bit more at 10, because Starmer has popped up twice in the last couple of hours, again, to release videos to make it explicitly clear that Britain was not involved in anything to do with killing the Ayatollah. One of them is what we believe was an iftar event in the parliamentary estate this evening. Desperate to try to make it abundantly clear to people that we had nothing to do with the killing of the Ayatollah, and that just shows you which side he thinks his bread is buttered, doesn't it? But, Emma, when the Hezbollah attacked Akrotiri in Cyprus, Emmanuel Macron's instinct was to send, I mean, I read them out there, a catalogue of different warships and planes and submarines and all of this stuff to that area to try to defend that base. Starmer has dilly-dallied around for a bit, and we might be getting HMS Dragon in a couple of weeks.
No, I mean, it is dangerous to be this pathetic. And as Charlie pointed out there, we knew this was coming. The general public knew that this was coming because of the whole debate around Chagos. Trump obviously wanted to use it in order to be able to attack Iran. They've attacked now because Iran is in a particularly weakened state. There is absolutely no excuse for the Prime Minister, even if it was that he wanted to continue to slavishly obeying international law, even when it's not in the interests of this country, as he did over Chagos. Even then, if he was just thinking that we will act in defence, at the very, very least, he should have made sure that everything was ready to be deployed in order to defend our RAF bases, but also, as you say, it's British sovereign territory. The message this sends to the rest of the world is that Britain is we're just sitting ducks. So I really think people should be very, very angry, actually, at the Prime Minister, because this, like I say, it's dangerous to be this pathetic. He's putting us at risk.
Dangerous to be this pathetic, Jonathan.
I love how everyone's defending Macron. Macron was saying that this war is illegal. So obviously you disagree with him on some things, and he's absolutely right, by the way. And it amuses me, Emma, when you say we slavishly defending or following international law, so that's a bad thing. I can't imagine any situation where you would criticise someone for slavishly following domestic law, except when it's in our interest. Sorry, that doesn't matter if it's in your interest or not. There is such a thing called law, and you either follow it or you don't. I happen to believe that international law is a last bastion against chaos, disorder and barbarism. That's why it matters, particularly in times of crisis and peril.
Should he have not acted sooner when our own military bases were being attacked?
I am always willing to criticise Keir Starmer where it's due. I think that in this particular issue, it could have been deployed sooner. But I think his overall instinct on this one has been correct, which is to oppose this war for a start, to say that we're not going to play any part in attacking. He is allowed, I mean, it's funny that Trump is attacking him. He's actually allowing Trump to do what Trump wants to do within carefully sort of set out parameters and reasonable parameters, saying that you can use British bases to attack, for example, rocket launching bases, rather than sort of going for different targets. It's completely within our right to do that, by the way. And I find it very, very funny how these so-called patriots, the people on the right, who've never seen a war they didn't like, by the way, if Starmer had done everything Trump wanted, they would have accused Starmer of being a poodle and not having a backbone and surrendered our sovereignty. But because Starmer's actually standing up for British interests, they're accusing him of being some kind of anti-American traitor. And by the way, it's really important. It's really important to note that you're not in step with the British people on this, Patrick. 28%, only 28% of British people support this war. You're not even in step with the American people. 59% of Americans disapprove of this war.
Well, I'm sorry for not being as pro-Ayatollah as you, Jonathan.
Well,
I'm not pro-Ayatollah either, Patrick.
Like
Don't be so zero-sum game.
Like
Don't be so simplistic. You're better than that.
Sounds like it.
It doesn't. Well, it's not the case.
Oh, it's just a lot of people are pro-Ayatollah at the moment. That's probably a damning indictment of where we're at.
International law is a nonsense. There is an enforcement
Unnecessary,
mechanism.
but
There
fine.
is an enforcement mechanism for domestic law. There is no enforcement mechanism for international law. I said this online the other day. If you think that Trump has contravened international law, call up the international police, tell me how you get on. It is a nonsense. If you think this is the last bastion against barbarism, then what you are saying is that people like Putin and Xi are only not committing bad behaviour because of Western precedent and international law, which is demonstrably untrue. They are already doing bad stuff. They couldn't care less
Yes,
about it,
Will,
which
and
means
we
that-
shouldn't put ourselves on their level. How about that? You always talk about democracy, values, but actually you just want to be the same as Iran. That's the truth of it, isn't it?
We talked about
The
interrupting.
same as Iran. I mean, that's such an unbelievable straw man. You've completely undermined any point that you would make because it's such an unreasonable
He wants to be, so he
mistake.
just thinks Iran can break international law, why can't we?
Well, I
That's
mean,
basically what you're saying.
In the case of the Chagos Islands, that judgment by the International Court was only advisory. So you just sound like you don't understand international law and how international law works.
Well, look, we're going to come on, like I said, at 10 p.m. for what is really kind of a remarkable turn of events about who Keir Starmer clearly is trying to appeal to in this country now. We know that we've seen the latest polls, which, well, one of them anyway, puts the Green Party in second place, remarkably. And we know that obviously the Green Party has now really thrown its arms around vast swathes of the British Muslim community. Keir Starmer is clearly trying to appeal to them in just the most kind of nakedly self-serving way that you've ever seen. I've got a couple of clips that have just come from tonight to show that. And if he is willing, as a result of that, to do away with our special relationship with the United States and to undermine our relationship with Israel, singularly to appease people who might vote Green at the next election, I'm sorry, I think we've got big problems. But